Today is our last lecture before our next test. When is our next test? Next Wednesday, February 13th. Next Wednesday, February the 13th, is our next test, okay? You've got, I'm going to try to grade some homework tonight, believe it or not. Or not? Yes, I'm going to try to do that tonight. So today we're going to learn real easy what to do, okay? What's the derivative of e to the u? So what's the integral of e to the u? See? Yeah, so see, you've just learned everything you need to know. If you're integrating e, it's going to be the same thing. Now, most of the time, I would say 99.99999% of the time, you're going to need to do a u du substitution. Because integrating e to the x, anybody can do. I mean, it's just memorizing as e to the x. So there won't be many problems that are that simple. So that's the rule for it. Most of the time, you're going to have to do a u substitution, such as problem on slide 2 here. Now, you've been doing u substitution for 3, 4, 5 homeworks now. You may be to a point that you don't have to write it down. If you need to write it down, great, that's fine, I've got no problem with it. But if you can look at that and say u is 5, 6, so du is 5 dx, so I need a 1/5 in front of it, and just write down the answer, that's okay too. I'm okay either direction there. You want to get to the point where you can do something like that in your head, if at all possible, so you have more time on the AP exam for harder problems. So that's where we're at. So in this problem, u is 5x minus 7. So du is 5 dx, but we don't have a 5 in our problem. So I'm going to make it 1/5 du equals dx. Okay? Now if we do that, then we've got the integral. I'm going to put the 1/5 on the outside, e to the u du. So our answer is 1/5 e to the 5x minus 7 plus c. That's quite simple. Can't get much easier than that, can it? All right, good. Well, let's look. 3x e to the x squared. What's u? Yep. U is almost always going to be your power. Okay? So du is 2x dx. Well, we've got 3x, so can we just add x to both sides and get 3x? And we've got to multiply by 3/2. We've got to get this way. We've got to get 1/2 du equals x dx. So we can move the 3 out, move that 1/2 out, and then we've got the x dx left in here. X dx, that's going to be replaced with du. We're integrating e to the u. 3/2 e to the x squared plus c. Problem solved. Questions, comments, observations? It's just blah, there it is. Well, let's see if we can get more challenging somewhere. That looks scary, doesn't it? What's e going to be? I mean, what's e is e. What's u going to be? 1 over x. U is the power. So what's du? All right, negative x to the negative 2. I don't have an x to the negative 2 over there, but I've got something kin to it, don't I? That's the same as negative 1 over x squared dx. So we need to make it negative du equals 1 over x squared dx. Now, can you see that you've got that in the problem there? Yes, sir. Because this problem could be written as e to the 1 over x times 1 over x squared dx. So this becomes my du, e to the u, with a negative out in front of it. Negative e to the 1 over x plus c. And remember, you should be able to take the derivative of that always and get back to where you started. So if you've got time, if you're unsure, you can always test your answer to be sure you can get back to it there. What do you think happens there?
Sine is u.
So cosine is due.
Uh-huh. So, answer is?
So it would just be e to the sine
Mm-hmm.
plus c.
Plus C. So we haven't gotten anything hard yet, have we?
Well, we get to do that little thing here next.
E to the negative 2x, 0 to 3, means we're just going to integrate like we've been doing and put our numbers in. Leave your answers in terms of e. So have an e in your answer, unless it's e to the 0. What's e to the 0? 1. Okay. So see if you can solve that before I jump in there. Negative 1/2 e to better.
E to the 0 is 1. Right?
E to the 0 is the number 1. You could have also had that answer written as negative 1/2 e to the negative 6 minus 1, or 1/2 1 minus e to the negative 6. You need to be able to recognize that all three of these answers are the same thing. Okay? All three of those answers are the same thing. All right? Now, what do you think here? Integral from 0 to 3 of...
Where'd the 1/2 come from?
Where'd the 1/2 come from? Okay.
I know, to the 0 would be like, times 0 would be 1.
All right, you see where this 1/2 came from?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, because
It's 1/2.
1 times the 1/2. Okay.
Yeah. We've got a 1, e to the 0 is 1, but we still had to multiply the whole thing by the 1/2 there.
Yes, sir.
You there? Okay. All right, what about this next one now?
Well, can you divide?
You got two things on the bottom you can't divide. Anybody?
Oh. Wouldn't you just be the denominator?
Mm-hmm. Okay? That needs to be an automatic for you. If you see a fraction, you need to think u is the denominator. Now, it's not going to be true every time, but most of the time it is. So, if you say u is 1 minus e to the x, then du is what? Negative e to the x. The derivative of 1 is 0. Derivative of e to the x is e to the x, and it had a minus in front of it. So we've got negative du equals ex dx. So if we substitute in negative integral of 1 over u, well, what's the integral of that? ln of u. So we've got negative ln absolute value 1 minus e to the x evaluated at 0 and 3.
Wait, I don't get how to do the ln.
Okay, do you see how we've got 1 over u? That's what we learned Monday. Integral of 1 over u is the ln of the absolute value of u there. Okay, so what's going to happen here? So we've got a negative ln, absolute value of 1 minus e cubed minus a negative ln absolute value of 1 minus 1. Is that right? Y'all comfortable with that? Can we do any simplification of 1 minus e cubed inside that ln there?
Not really.
Can we use our power property for exponents or anything and move that cube down? Why not? It's inside and it's a subtraction there. So that's as clean as this first thing can get. Minus ln is 1 minus e cubed. That's a number. Is it a positive number or a negative number? Negative number, okay? Plus ln of 0, right? Yeah. Well, we don't have to have. So, can you take the ln of 0?
What?
E to what power is 0?
No.
You can't, can you? You can't do that. So then sounds like somebody made a mistake making up this problem here. So maybe that should have been a 1 down there. Because if that were a 1, then we'd have a 1 minus e. Okay. But anyway, y'all got the calculus part y'all got right. I need to fix that problem before next year. Note to self. So e's and ln's could be in the same problem. Expect that. Anytime you see a fraction, expect the denominator to be u. All right. What do you think happens there?
U would be e to the x.
So we're just integrating cosine u. What's the integral of cosine? Sine, yeah. Sine of e to the x, evaluated at -1 and 0. Sine of e to the 0 minus the sine of e to the -1, which is sine of 1 minus sine of 1 over e. And if you had a calculating device, you could figure out what that is, and we don't really care. Done anything hard yet? I don't think there's much hard here. Sorry. It's nothing hard. That was it. Sorry about that. You have a homework posted out there to do.